John Robbie says.
Good morning, John. How are you doing this morning?
I'm very good, Tessa. I'm a little bit coldy, but a wonderful weekend. And well done to all Sundown supporters and the team, eh? It's getting a bit boring, though.
Yeah, no, 8 years on the trot, but maybe what's not boring is 28 years since Amajita won, and that's South Africa winning together. What's on your mind this morning?
All right, well, here we go, Tessa. It's a hell of a week for South Africa, isn't it? I mean, some would say that every week is that. Such are the massive problems we face, and we listen to those like you've just been listening to a call now. But this week seems especially important. Do you feel the tension, Tessa? Well, I certainly do. We've got Budget 3.0 to be tabled by the Minister of Finance on Wednesday, and I think we're all holding thumbs there. There'll be no VAT, of course. That caused all the problems. But this has to result in a reduction in spending, doesn't it? And remember, global growth and South African forecasts have all been lowered, God forbid. So that situation, that macro situation is terrifying. But how can you even trust forecasts or even make them when a certain Donald Trump and his Make America Great Again disciples are in charge of the largest economy in the world, and they're on a roll? I mean, did you watch his recent trip to the Middle East? He was treated like an ancient Roman emperor.
What a wild.
The praise singing, the gifts of the aeroplane, the applause almost every time he opened his mouth. I mean, it was unbelievable. And sometimes it was sickening. It was so false. And we've seen how disruptive, cruel, gullible he and his followers are. And they've cut aid and charity, they've abandoned allies, they've cozied up to dictators, all supposedly to cut a deal, as Trump keeps saying, in the best interest of who? The rich people in America. And we saw President Zelensky of the Ukraine treated like a naughty schoolboy and even blamed for a war that started when Russia invaded his country, not for the first time, but for the second time. Remember Crimea in 2014. We've seen Palestinians murdered in their tens of thousands by a country that has been involved in ethnic cleansing for almost a century. And Trump just says America can take Gaza over. And of course, they're still supplying Israel with arms and support. It's absolutely dreadful. Well, and here's the point. Against this background, on Wednesday, President Ramaphosa is leading a delegation to meet President Trump and his team. And no doubt they will have to face a barrage of hand-picked and primed Trump-supporting politicians and media, just like Zelensky. Trump clearly hates South Africa. So what do you do if you're Cyril? I mean, a lot of the papers were postulating about this, and I've been thinking about it. Do you take on the false claims? Do you stand your ground? Do you point out the lies and the misinformation, like the white genocide narrative? And yes, Johnny Steinberg, that doesn't ignore the shocking crime stats in South Africa. That was a great article you wrote last week. If we do that, it's goodbye to AGOA and duty-free South African exports to America, and it'll cause chaos to our motor industry. 500,000 jobs they're talking about being lost here. Also, agriculture and wine will be hammered, and a lot more. If we do that, our delegation will probably be kicked out of the White House, humiliated and sent packing. And of course, the Americans know about state capture and pala. By the way, they'll have ammunition of their own. So the big question is, what should Cyril, what should we do at that meeting? I suggest we adopt as a mantra that quote from the late great arch Desmond Tutu. In an address to the Nelson Mandela Foundation in 2004, he said, "Don't raise your voice, improve your argument." I mean, it's a famous quote, and I think it's so relevant for the world today and to our delegation on Wednesday. Be prepared for anything except justifiable criticism and explain what South Africa is trying to do, what it's all about, what the situation is here. However, and Tessa, here's my point. If you're faced with continual denial and false allegation and threats, economic and otherwise, where do you draw the line? I mean, recently Canada's Mark Carney did a great job of stroking Trump, and you have to stroke Trump because of his narcissistic ego, but also standing firm on other issues. Well, with Gaza, Ukraine, Israel, BEE crime, all of these could lead to rows and to deadlock. So my message is to Cyril, please improve your argument, but, and here is the question, at what point must you raise your voice? What do you think, Tessa?
The argument is going to have to be strong either way, but I do also think this is about a show of force from the South Africans. I think when that moment arrives, when Ramaphosa is going to be sitting at that press briefing chair, face to face with Trump, he can't be found Zelenskying. He can't be found in a place where he feels like he is losing the fight, because they're also going to come with a visceral fight. So I think, yes, the argument needs to be strong, but we have a show of strength in terms of when we face the world not only with facts, but also with a sense that we are not just here on the back foot to plead and beg.
Interesting.
And I think that's what we need to look strong.
Some say it's because we're not strong, but my point, I'm sort of agreeing with you, but at some stage, you can take all this nonsense and then you have to stand up, even if it means economic chaos. I'd love to be there, and I can't wait to see what happens.
Me too. Thanks so much for sharing that one, John. Always good to hear from you on a Monday.
Cheers, Tessa.